morning, good afternoon. I don't know what time we're going to be shown, usually at 3 a.m. But anyway, this is once again Terry Castleman and Chef Caitie Barker with Cooking with Caitie Girl. And today Caitie has some comfort food for us, don't you?
Yeah.
And you promised me this was so easy that everybody would be able to do this, and that we were just going to be able to just put this stuff together and then go about our business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody's always like, I just don't have time to cook.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, really? I work 90 hours a week. Talk to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's winter. It's really cold out, and so people want comforting kind of foods. But the bad thing about those kind of foods is that they, take forever to cook.
Yes.
And I love beef stew.
Okay,
And so we're making
yes.
beef stew today, but it's a beef stew that you can make in like 20 minutes instead of like 4.5 hours. So in this pan right here, I've got some butter that's melted. Make sure you don't burn it, but you want it to be pretty hot. So,
Okay.
Anyway, and right here, what I'm putting in there is sirloin steak that I've cut into like stew meat size.
Okay. Instead of getting stew meat,
Stew meat, they have to cook forever to get it to break
tender.
down.
Okay, so it's sirloin, and I love the taste of sirloin.
And
anyway.
it's really comparable in price to like a chuck roast that you would cut up, but it's tender like steak, so you don't have to cook it forever. You just kind of have to cook it through. And it's not going to be that fall apart kind of beef that you're used to, but it is going to be tender enough just to eat like a stew. Okay. And notice I'm not taking this whole thing and just dumping it in there.
Okay, you're placing pieces.
Yeah, the way to get a really good depth of flavor with a stew is to brown these pieces individually and get a little crust on them.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much that's the hardest part.
That's what I was told how to brown mushrooms, is make sure they don't touch.
Make sure they don't touch, because then you end up with like mushroom stew.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're just pretend like these are little baby steaks.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to give them some room, let them brown evenly, do it in a couple batches if you need to.
You just had a luau at the restaurant, your second annual luau.
We did.
Yes, how did that go?
Well, I ended up getting laid 3 times. I think it went pretty well. It was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of
It
fun.
was a lot of fun. Okay. So while our beef is browning, make sure you keep your raw meat tongues with the raw meat and don't cross-contaminate with your vegetables and all that.
Okay.
So let those get a good crust. Don't stir them around. You should never have a spoon involved, okay? You should turn each individual piece. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's worth it,
Okay, to get that browning on it.
Now, stew usually has like onions, carrots, celery, potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put all that, but people don't eat enough vegetables,
Right,
okay? Especially
yes.
if you have like kids or something.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good way where you can sneak in some extra servings of vegetables and they won't know the difference.
Okay.
So we're going to do our celery, and I just leave the little green on. It's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I like rustic stew, like big chunks of
Yes,
things,
yes.
Feels more like a meal, less like a soup. So I just kind of leave everything in big chunks. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I got some carrots. Now carrots, as long as you wash them, you don't have to peel them.
Okay, now
Okay.
this is, I've been seeing this in magazines too,
Yeah.
that they haven't been peeling the carrots. They, like you said, they leave them more rustic.
I'm lazy, so,
Yeah, I understand.
least amount of work I can do, the better. And I just kind of cut them in big chunks on the bias like
Yes.
that.
Then they don't fall apart either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like I said, especially if you're cooking like a normal stew that you have to cook for a long time, you want to leave them bigger so they don't fall apart. But this, you don't want to cut them like super enormous just because you want them to get tender in the amount of time that we're going to be cooking this. But okay. Back to our meat.
Individually turning
Now
each
see
one.
that? See how we
That's
got little
gorgeous. Yeah.
crusties?
Okay.
That's what you're
Okay.
looking for. And that's going to leave some brown bits on the bottom of the pot.
Okay, the
And-
jewels.
Yeah, and that's going to give a lot of flavor to the rest of the stew. And people don't do that. That's the problem with people. They just no one's really taught them how to cook. And this is a basic principle. Anytime you make any kind of stew, soup, you want to brown things.
The
So
television crew's starting to salivate here.
I'm not cleaning up the mess.
You redo the menu at your restaurant 4 times a year. When do you redo it again for spring?
I'm going to do it in March.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you're doing something for Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah, we're having a brunch.
Okay, Valentine's Day brunch on a Sunday, right?
And then we're also doing our little cooking class the day after for couples.
For couples cooking class, okay.
All
That'll
right.
be fun.
Okay. Now I got some, this is how we're sneaking in some more vegetables. I got some yellow squash here. Okay. I don't peel it or anything either.
No.
And we're just going to kind of quarter it.
Mm-hmm.
And then cut it into big chunks.
Okay.
Okay. And we're also going to put some turnips in there. And like, nobody turn your nose up.
I love turnips.
Cut the turnips up, put them in there.
I'm a turnip parsnip person.
People are going to think they're potatoes.
Yeah,
they'll
they'll never know.
It'll taste like beef stew.
You
That's
have
what the turnip
scallop turnips on your menu, and they taste fabulous.
Yeah, I swear to God, most people think they're eating au gratin potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think people just haven't like had things the right way.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this first batch of meat out, and you want to pull it out.
Okay.
And then brown your vegetables separately. That way your vegetables can kind of lose their juices and scrape up all those bits on the bottom and get a little color on them.
Okay.
And that's what stews are about. It's like building layers of flavor.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's like each little step.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you can use like, if they have like New York strips on sale or something for real cheap, you can use something like that. But I just like the sirloin because it's as tender as a steak, but it's a less expensive cut. So.
I saw that dessert that you served at the luau. It was like, what was it? Like a grilled pineapple with coconut ice cream.
Yeah, it was bomb.
Oh my God, that looked fabulous.
Okay. All right, putting our vegetables in there, make a little room on the cutting board. Okay.
Oh, and you had star fruit margaritas.
Yeah, I got a friend who goes to Florida and has a star fruit tree. She walks in the other day and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to bring you some star fruit." I'm like, "All right, thanks. That's really nice."
6 of them or something.
Yeah, and she brought me like, I swear to God, like 3 5-gallon buckets of star fruit. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, so we made margaritas.
Star fruit margaritas.
That's fabulous, isn't it?
Is indeed. Okay, turnips, a lot of people don't know what to do with them. I think that's another thing that intimidates people. Just cut the top and the bottom off and peel it.
Okay.
And then just treat it like a potato after that. You just kind of cut it up.
Okay.
You can use a peeler if you want. I just got this new peeler that my dad got me for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to like peel a pineapple or something, but it just looks like a regular peeler. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, on television, they promise everything.
Like us, we promise this will take you 20 minutes, and I'll probably take an hour and a half.
Well, if you're not talking to someone, it only takes 20 minutes. Yeah.
Make big chunks again, and by the time it's done, people think they're potatoes, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so we got some turnips, we got squash, we got carrots, we got celery. Now I got an actual potato. It's cutting in big chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, stew's one of those things too that gets better every time you reheat it.
Mm-hmm. Are you still renting the restaurant out for like wedding receptions and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure am. Just give me a call. All right.
What is that number here?
528-1294.
Okay.
All right. Onion.
I bet you can't wait for the Taste of Downtown again. Last year you sold 5,000, over 5,000 Caitie Girl horseshoes.
It was ridiculous.
It was a good time.
It was
had
fun.
by all.
Yeah, I'm glad I sent you down there, not me.
Yeah.
I heard it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Rest of our celery here. Okay. And then I've got some garlic cloves, and I'm not going to chop them up or anything. I just kind of smash them a little bit. And they'll get soft enough to eat, but you just kind of want it to flavor the soup a little bit as a background flavor. Like garlic's one of those things, the finer you mince it up, the stronger it tastes.
Yes.
So if you want a really strong garlicky taste, mince it up. If you don't, just kind of smash it and throw it in there. Okay? All right. So, got our vegetables going. And all those brown bits are going to start to come up off the bottom and kind of caramelize our vegetables. See that there? Okay. All right. And I got some bay leaf, dried bay leaf. Use dry or use fresh if you can get it, but it's Springfield, so good luck with that. Sometimes you can. And like a lot of people don't use bay.
Oh, I love
just
bay
because they don't
leaves.
think about it. I think they're awesome. I use probably too many. You're supposed to put like 2, and I put like 8. But they're good. Don't judge me. All right. And then I'm also going to put a handful of bacon that I had cooked and crumbled.
Okay.
And it's just, you can buy it that way, already cooked and crumbled, which is what I did. But if you can just like cut regular bacon into pieces, brown it up, take it out, brown the beef in the bacon fat. That's the more traditional way, but this is easier and it tastes exactly the same. So
I understand.
All right. And I got some rosemary.
Yes.
You can use any kind of herb you want. A lot of people use thyme. Some people use rosemary. I just throw a stalk in there, and the leaves will kind of fall off. You can pull the stalk out later.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, we're going to let this just kind of brown for a little bit, and I'm going to work on our biscuits.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, okay.
We're making a little beef stew and putting it over biscuits. Okay? So I got some flour here.
Okay.
And I never use a standard recipe for biscuits.
I understand.
Which I should. It's more like a part thing. Like I like maybe 3 parts, or maybe more like 4 parts flour to 1 part fat.
Okay. Okay.
And by fat I mean like butter or Crisco or lard.
Okay. Okay.
I'm using butter. I just like it better. I don't know. I think it helps them brown better. But any kind of fat you want to use is really fine. This is probably about 4 cups of flour. So I'm going to use 1 cup of butter.
Okay.
And this was 2 cups until I cut a little off. So that's about a pound of butter right there.
Okay.
Okay. And now if you put too much butter, then it'll make them kind of heavy, and that's called short. Like if you hear somebody say your biscuits are a little short, that means they have, doesn't mean they're not tall, it means they have a little too much shortening in them. Okay. So we're just going to chop this up in little pieces. And everybody's always like, chill your butter first. Blah, blah, blah. Because the whole concept of biscuits, pie crust, anything that has chopped up fat in it, is that you've got this cold fat, preferably butter, and you're supposed to have it cold enough, and then you're supposed to work it into this dough.
Right, so it's layers.
So when it bakes, these little particles of cold butter will melt and cause steam.
Okay.
And cause flakes between the dough.
Okay.
So everybody's always like, refrigerate your butter, but seriously, it does not make that big of a difference. You don't want it melty, but don't freak out about it.
Okay.
Okay? All right, this is a pastry blender.
Yes.
You can use 2 forks and cut it in. I've never done that successfully.
Okay.
So get a pastry blender, and it's just a little handle with some little
okay.
ringy things on it, okay? And that just kind of press down and just kind of work it into the flour, and it just takes that butter and kind of cuts it into
littler pieces.
Littler pieces. And they always say work it until it looks like cornmeal. Again, I've never successfully done that. It looks nothing like cornmeal. But just really small pieces of butter, okay?
Okay.
All right, will you stir my vegetables, please, Terry?
Yes, I certainly will.
And then if I get frustrated and the pastry blender isn't working out, I just use my hands.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And how you know that you have enough butter is once you get it worked in enough, you want to be able to take some of the flour and hold it between your palm and it'll hold its shape.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of the test. All right.
So while that's cooking, you can actually make your little biscuits.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And people always use Bisquick because they think it's easier, but really it just takes 5 minutes to throw biscuits together. It's not a big deal.
No, and you're doing the same thing you would with Bisquick.
Yeah.
Except for if you use the ones in the tube, you just have to do that. But these that you made over there look better than the ones that you buy in the package.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks tastier.
I'm just going to start to work this thing with my hand a little because I get sick of the pastry blender after a while.
I understand.
All right, so anyway, see how it kind of holds its shape like that? That means that you've got enough butter in it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, so that's worked up fairly fine. Just like little bitty small pieces of the...
Okay.
Okay? All right. And then to this we're going to add a little bit of baking powder. Good old clabber girl. About a teaspoon. Then some salt. And it's really easy to make herbed biscuits. You can just throw in some herbs. Or you could throw in some cheese or some garlic or, whatever. Okay? And then you just want to mix the salt into that. So we got baking powder, flour, salt, butter, all cut up together. Okay? And always mix up your dry ingredients first before you add your wet ingredients. And that keeps you from over mixing, because if you over mix, then you get tough biscuits. All right. Then we're going to pour in some buttermilk. You can use regular milk if you want. I just like buttermilk. And if you use buttermilk, you can actually use baking soda instead of powder. Because baking soda, a lot of people don't know the difference between the two.
Okay.
Baking soda is activated by an acid. So like buttermilk or something like that. Baking powder is pretty much just baking soda with a dry acidic powder in it. So it
it'll
doesn't
make
need that
bubbles,
to
yeah.
activate it. So anyway, you'll see a lot of biscuit recipes that use just baking soda, and that's why, because they have the buttermilk in it. But I'm just fond of baking powder. Don't ask me why.
I understand.
All right. So that actually looks pretty good, about that amount of liquid. You want it to just kind of come together and look a little bit dry in areas.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Get rid of our cutting board here. Okay. And we're going to put down a little flour. All right. We're just going to fold this out here.
You have a lot of technical equipment here, don't you?
I do. I have a ton, as always. And this will be a little sticky, and that's okay. We're just going to kind of just knead it a little bit until it's not quite as sticky anymore.
Okay.
Okay? Just kind of bring it together. But you don't want to really knead it like bread, because we're not trying to develop the gluten in this.
Right.
We're just trying to bring it together. And if it's a little dry, add a little more flour. And it's a messy job, I'm not going to lie to you. But it's worth it.
Yeah, because those biscuits over there look fabulous.
They're so much better than the canned biscuits, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, too, think that biscuits have egg in it.
Oh, okay, they
And
don't.
it does not.
No.
Okay, so yeah, it's just starting to form kind of a dough. All right. Then you can roll it out if you want, but I like big kind of thick biscuits, so I just pat it out. Okay. And right here we've got a little sprayed sheet, okay? And I got my fancy biscuit cutter here, also known as a water glass. Now, this is very important.
Yes.
Okay, when you're cutting a biscuit, you want to press down firmly, okay?
Yes.
Most people want to twist.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that, because that seals off the edges and they won't rise properly.
Oh, okay, okay.
So just kind of do a little back and forth number, and then pick it up.
And they don't have to be perfect.
And they don't, no. But you don't want to twist, because then they
Okay.
won't raise as much,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
All right? Okie dokie. So we're just going to roll out the rest of these, and I'm going to go wash my hands, and then we'll finish our stew.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll be back in a minute. And we're back with Cooking with Caitie Girl, and we're making beef stew, and it's like the fastest recipe I've ever seen. We even made biscuits during this whole thing. But anyway, in the wintertime, you would want to maybe have a bottle of wine with this. And there's one thing I know about. In February, the Illinois Wine Growers Association is going to be having a little to-do out at, I'm not mistaken, the Crown Plaza. I think it's February 22nd, but you could call the Illinois Wine Growers Association, and it's going to be like a tasting. And I got to tell you that they've been growing these Norton red wine grapes, and those are just wonderful.
Where are they growing those at?
All over Illinois and Missouri and that, and it's really, they're getting into their own there. And,
You know, people always give Illinois wines a lot of crap, like,
yeah,
but
I
they've
know.
really come along.
They're coming along very, very good. What's the name of the guy that does your wine list for the restaurant?
Dennis.
Dennis, yes. Dennis, doesn't he work at Southern Wine and Spirits? Dennis at Southern Wine and Spirits does Caitie Girl's wine list. I brought the copy of that so we could see that. Anyway, this is what you see when you come into the restaurant, and it's got all kinds of wines on it. But with this particular one, I think a Zinfandel would really go good. And the one thing I wanted to show you was a lot of times people think Zinfandels are not a really red wine. And there's this one called Layer Cake that in all the wine magazines was just raving about it. And I personally love this myself. But as you can see, this is red.
I think people confuse it with white Zinfandel,
Yes.
because white Zinfandel is actually
Yes,
pink.
because it's pink.
And you know,
yes.
and we're not wine snobs here. Like,
Oh, at all.
I'm real weird about our wine list. I don't want anything on there that no one can pronounce.
Right.
Or or they're afraid to order. You know,
yes.
I mean, wine isn't supposed to be snooty. It's supposed to be something you're supposed to enjoy.
Yes.
You know, and people just get really uppity about it.
It's supposed to be like when you go to Europe where everybody orders a bottle of wine
Yeah.
because it isn't expensive.
Yeah.
Okay? And, but that's one good thing about Dennis is that he does do your wine list, and whenever he redoes it, it's always more fabulous than the time before.
Yeah, he does do a great
Yes,
job.
yes.
And I like that people aren't afraid to order something here.
Yes.
You know, and so people really, you know, explore wines, start sweeter, work up to dry if you like that. But, you know, and that's another thing too. People are always like, oh, only dry wines are for sophisticated palates. It's like, you know what? If you like sweet wines, drink a freaking sweet wine.
You can drink grape soda with it.
You know,
it doesn't
who cares?
make any difference.
There's no right or wrong thing. Just drink what you like.
Yes.
Don't let anyone make you feel lesser than.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I do. Are you going to put some wine in this?
I just did, yeah.
Okay. And you put some of this Cardinal Zin in there, didn't you?
There's another
wonderful.
Zinfandel that
Yeah,
I'm a
it's
fan
wonderful. And the label's fabulous.
I like wines with cool labels.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
looks-
I don't care how it
Doesn't
tastes.
it look
Does it have a cool,
Toulouse-Lautrec
cool
or
label?
something?
Yeah, it's
You
cool.
know? Yeah.
Anyway, to this, we had our vegetables and we had our bacon and all of that. And I just added our beef back into that. And we let everything get good and caramelized. And by caramelized, I just mean get some brown color on everything. Keep stirring it around. Anyway, and I just added some salt and pepper and some wine and some beef broth. And that's it. And anyway, you just let that kind of come to a simmer. Simmer just until the beef's done, maybe like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then it's ready to serve.
Because we started off with a good cut of meat to begin with.
Right, so you just need to cook it through. You
Okay,
don't
was
need
that
to
meat
stew it.
good, Brian? They were nibbling while you were washing your hands. Okay.
And anyway, if it's not thick enough for you,
Okay,
because it's
okay.
not cooking for a long period of time, because a lot of times regular stews, they'll thicken because they'll have those potatoes
Those-
in
the
there and they'll
potato
break
starch,
down and the
yes.
starch in those. But anyway, I just thicken it up with a little cornstarch or a little bit of roux
Okay,
if it's not as
okay,
thick as I like it. So
okay.
anyway, so we'll just let that come to a simmer and then we'll plate it up here in a minute.
Okay,
Cool.
okay. So what else is coming up here at Caitie Girls this spring? Anything? This is the new menu, right?
New
And
menu.
once again, you will be using all the stuff that you can get at Farmer's Market that we love down there. Yes. Who's the name of the guy that sells you your free-range chickens?
You know, I couldn't tell you his name. I know that's terrible. He's with Bear Creek Farm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's horrible. He eats in here like every week, too. And I use Andy a lot.
Okay.
Andy Heck with Veenster's Vegetables. They're really good.
Okay.
You know, I like the farmers. It's like they're
Yeah.
cool. You know, I go down
I
there.
think it's a riot when they bring the stuff in here, and when
Yeah.
you go down there to pick it up. That's really cool.
They come in here, they drop stuff off, they
Yeah.
go, they drink like 4 beers and
Yeah.
have a cup of soup. And, you know, they're cool. They're good guys. So support them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, you should stop in the restaurant sometime at Caitie Girls. It's located at the St. Nick apartment building, and we're on the first floor, and the entrance is on 4th Street. People are always asking me that, how to get in
You
here.
know, it's deceiving because the address is Jefferson Street.
Right,
So I always just say the corner of 4th and Jefferson.
yes.
That's
Well,
almost to a boil.
let's bring this to a boil, and we'll be right back in just a minute. And once again, we're back with our 20-minute stew with our homemade biscuits, and this looks beautiful. That broth is so shiny and it
Yeah.
looks so rich.
Yeah, it's all about getting everything brown enough in the beginning. And just
Well, it's just
adds a lot of
absolutely
color to it.
gorgeous.
Okay, so this is done. And just make sure your potatoes are tender, and then it's done.
Okay.
And if you want to cook it even faster than this, just cut them in smaller chunks.
Okay. Faster than 20 minutes?
It's all right. We can pull out our rosemary now.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, this is pretty thick, but I mean, it's kind of like a thick soup, and I want it to be like a stew. So
Right.
I'm going to thicken it up a little more. And I just make a little cornstarch slurry. And the difference between a roux and cornstarch slurry is a roux is where you take like butter and melt it and mix in flour.
Right,
Okay. But cornstarch, you just take cornstarch and mix it with cold water. It has to be cold or else it'll lump up on you.
Okay.
Just until it's all mixed up, okay?
Okay.
And you don't want to use too much water because then you're kind of thickening the water that you're mixing with it before you're
Okay.
thickening this. So just enough water to make it pliable.
Okay.
And what I like about it for stews is I like kind of glossy looking stews.
That's what
like
this, that's what, yes, it's
And
very glossy.
cornstarch, when it cooks, it's clear. So
Okay,
it stays,
okay,
it keeps that
okay.
glossy thing where a roux will make it kind of cloudy.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so this is you want kind of the consistency of like paint.
Okay.
All right. I know it's kind of a bad visual, but dumping paint into your stew, but okay. And you just kind of want to, I mean, you don't have to like whisk super quick, but you know, you want to just kind of stir it so it's incorporated evenly and you don't get big lumps
Oh, and
in
it
it.
thickens very fast.
Yeah, and
Yes.
always
And it
keep,
keeps that glaze.
yeah. And always keep in mind that no matter what thickening agent you're using, whether it's flour or roux or something weird like waxy maize, none of them ever get to their fullest thickening until it comes to a boil.
Okay.
So, and it usually doesn't cook out that chalky taste until it comes to a boil. So always let it come back to a boil before it's done.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're to a boil now.
But boy, that is really glazy. That looks like restaurant food.
Yeah, looks nice. Okay.
Fabulous.
And that cornstarch just cooks clear like that.
And you
so.
can't tell if there's a turnip in there or not.
No, it's
because they all look
I think it's a
alike.
potato. Then.
Yeah.
Lie to your kids.
Lie. Just lie.
Yeah, lie to them. Okay, here are our biscuits.
Uh-huh.
They turned out nice, I think.
Yes, those are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got a couple of different options.
Okay.
One, you can kind of pour this stew into a pan or just leave it in here and put some of these biscuits on top and warm it up in the oven for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Or I like to just kind of do like a biscuits and gravy sort of deal.
Okay.
Where I just kind of split them in half, give everybody
Okay.
a couple biscuits.
Okay.
All right. And I cook those in like a 400-degree oven for about 12-15 minutes. Depends on how big you make them. If you don't make them that big, cook them for 12. If you make them pretty big, like more like 15, 18.
Okay.
And I like to cook them at 400 because that way the outside gets nice and crispy and golden, but the inside doesn't get really dried out. It's still kind of a little bit like moist. Not doughy, but moist.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So let's take some of our stew, put it over these biscuits here. All right. And Terry,
Isn't
do you
that
have your
fun?
wine ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a glass of wine right here.
Okay. So our nice stew on our biscuits. Okay. Put a little rosemary on there. All right. There we go. Call it a day. Have a nice little glass of red wine with it, and
Less than 30
it's
minutes.
a nice little warm up.
Look at how
in the
fabulous
wintertime.
this looks. Look at the glaze on this sauce and everything. That's just fabulous.
Thanks.
That's wonderful.
Good. Anyway, it's a nice thing. It's quick to do, and it's a nice comforting kind of warm me up when it's cold out
Yes.
sort of meal. And I mean, it looks nice enough that you can entertain with it, or you can just have it on a weeknight. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Here's a little spoon. I got to taste this. Okay.
all right. It's probably hot.
It's wonderful.
Good.
It's so rich.
And that wine will cook out, so I mean, it's safe to serve to your kids and things like that. So just make sure it boils for a little bit. All right. Cool.
That's wonderful. Eat this in front of a fireplace? Oh my God.
Sip your wine with your pinky up.
How fabulous.
All right.
This is so nice when you show people how to do things that are so fast and they turn out and look like this. That's just wonderful. It looks like a magazine. My Lord. Anyway, thank you for once again tuning with us with Cooking with Caitie Girl with Chef Caitie Barker, my dear, dear friend. I absolutely adore her, and I love when she tells me things about food and everything. And I'm sure you do too. And we'll see you next time.